um, today we're going to discuss, because we already discussed orbital cavity, its wall, four walls of orbital cavity. I will discuss some little bit short summary. Superior wall, inferior wall, medial wall, and lateral wall we discussed in the last video, but today we will going to discuss the opening of the nasal cavity. Okay, in the orbital cavity. In the orbital cavity we have 10 opening, okay, which I mark here, and then I will show which opening where. Okay, now which I told you we have 10 opening in our orbital cavity. 10 opening we have in our orbit. Okay, first opening which I showed this name, the first one is if you remember, here in the laterally we have also the zygomatic bones. Zygomatic bones, we have three surfaces which we discussed in the facial bones: lateral surface, orbital surface, and temporal surface. They have one foramen, and they're facing the three surfaces, and one in orbital surface also we have foramena. If you remember, this is a zygomatic orbital foramena. Now this is the area which I found. This is the one opening, the first opening, its name zygomatic orbital foramena. Zygomatic orbital foramena. Okay, now the second opening, this one. If you remember, the superior wall, here we have supraorbital margin, supraorbital notch, and supraorbital foramena. If you remember, this is the second opening is a supraorbital foramena. Supraorbital foramena. This is the second opening of the orbit. Now next opening, this one. If you remember, medially in our orbit we have located here the frontal foramena. Okay, the third one we have, third opening is a frontal foramena. Now the fourth opening is a, if you remember, when we discussed the bone, sphenoid bone or sphenoidale, there we have between lesser vein we have optic canal, both sides optic canal, and between them we have optic sulcus, and optic canal open inside the orbit. Okay, and this is the fourth opening in orbit is the optic canal. Why we saying like we have 10 opening in the orbit? Because these opening are opening in the orbit, a connection in the orbit. That's why this we have 10 opening. Okay, optic canal. Now fifth one, this is one fifth one, you know, between lesser wing and greater wing. In the sphenoid bone we have supraorbital fissure. The fifth opening is a supraorbital fissure, or fissura supraorbitalis in Latin. Okay, now we discussed fifth opening of the orbital. Now the sixth opening in the lower. This is the sixth opening. You know, do you remember? Like when we discussed the infratemporal fossa, temporal fossa. The infratemporal fossa, they have the infratemporal connection with orbit. Also from the lateral side, they have connection by with orbit by which fissure opening, inferior orbital fissure, and also pterygopalatine fossa also have connection with orbit by infraorbital fissure. Okay. Sorry, we have some mistake in the supra. This is not supra, this is superior, and this is inferior. Okay, I will little bit confused. Okay, don't worry. This is superior, this is not supra. Okay, superior orbital fissure, which we discussed in the lesser and greater wing, and here we have inferior supraorbital fissure, which are connection with orbit. Supraorbital infratemporal fossa and pterygopalatine fossa have connection with orbit by inferior orbital fissure. Okay, the sixth opening in the orbital cavity we have the sixth opening in the orbital cavity is the inferior orbital fissure. fissura orbitalis inferior. Okay, these are the 6 openings. 6 opening we discussed. Okay, now the 7th one. 7th one opening, you know this here, the 7th and 8th one. Do you remember when we discussed ethimoid bone in her bony labyrinths? There we have ethimoidal chain, and between ethimoidal chain we have foramens, ethimoidal foramens. Now here this opening you can see inside the orbit is medially. Okay, you can see there's 2 opening. One is in front side and one in the back side. The front side is interior ethimoidal foramena, and the back one is a posterior ethimoidal. The 7th opening. Now the 7th opening in orbital cavity is a interior ethimoidal foramena. Okay, this is the 7th opening in orbital cavity. Now the 8th opening, 8 is posterior, the back side, posterior ethimoidal foramena. Okay, this is the 8th opening, and 9th and 10th. Okay, I told we have 10 opening, 9th one. Do you remember we take our supraorbital foramena? Now we have in the lower wall, inferior wall of the orbit, we have their infraorbital foramena, infraorbital canal, and from the inside and a connection with the infraorbital foramena in the maxilla bone. Okay, 9th opening is a infraorbital foramena. This is the 9th one opening in the nasal cavity. Now 10th opening in the nasal cavity. 10th one opening is if you know in the medially, when we discuss, we have trochlear fossa. Medially in the, when we discussing the orbital plate of the frontal bone. Now the medial wall of the medial wall of the orbit, we have in the lower there we have located a nasolacrimal canal. Okay, this is the 10th opening. We have nasolacrimal canal. Okay, this is the 10th opening in the orbital cavity. Okay, orbital cavity wall we discussed in last video. Now we have discussed the 10 opening in the orbital cavity which are connection with the orbit. Okay, now first opening we have zygomatic orbital foramena. Okay, laterally. Then we have supraorbital foramena which are located in the superior wall. Then we have frontal foramina also in the lateral wall. Okay, medial wall. Then we have optic canal which we discussed in the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone, and supraorbital fissure in also between the lesser and greater wing of sphenoid bone as opening in the orbital cavity. Then we have inferior orbital fissure. Okay, and 7th opening we have 7th and 8th. This is the interior and posterior ethimoidal foramena. 9th we have infraorbital which are located in the inferior wall of the orbital cavity, and 10th is the located in the medially wall. Here is the nasolacrimal canal. Okay, these are the 10 opening of the orbital cavity. Okay, thank you for watching.